Hey Ottawa, this is your Monday Market Snapshot for the Ottawa Real Estate Market on July 31st, 2023. My name is Annalee Rice and I'm a realtor here at Royal LePage Performance Realty in Ottawa. Every week I bring you the stats, and this week I've got the month-end stats, just kind of a preview on the month-end stats for July, since we're on the last day of the month. So stick around, see what's happening in the trends and see where we went throughout July. So first off, we'll look citywide. First, we see that there was a slight decrease in both the number of active listings and the number of sales this week. I don't often comment, in fact, I never comment on the sale prices at this point, but this is the first time that we have seen that the average detached sale price across the city was over $1 million. It just cracked that 1 million rate, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Okay, so here's the graph form of what we're seeing throughout the trends of the year. We see that the last few weeks have been quite steady. We've got pretty steady numbers for the active listings and sales and even the conditional sales. Now we are coming up to the end of the month, so we will see some um, expired listings and places being maybe taken off the market as they expire. But also this week coming, we're moving into another holiday weekend, so that tends to see fewer new listings in advance of the holiday weekend, and then maybe a bit of a increase after the holiday weekend. And due to those changes in the number of active listings or new listings, we'll see a drop in sales as people take vacation time and such after the weekend. Okay, so for this week, there were 372 properties listed this week. Of those, 78% or 289 were new to the market, and 22% or 83 were relisted properties. Sales this week, as I mentioned before, were slightly down this week, but we've seen that they're fairly steady, or at least over the last 3 weeks. Of the homes that sold this week, 28% of them sold with no conditional period. And of the properties that sold this week, 21% were on the market for 7 or fewer days, and 62% sold within 30 days or less. Of the homes that sold within that 7 days, 74% of those sold with no conditions. Next up, we're going to zoom into the different areas of the city. When we get to the central urban region, most of the big jumps were in the condo market. We see a jump in the number of active listings and then a fairly significant drop in the number of condos that sold this week. In Canada and Stittsville, we have a modest increase in the number of active listings for detached homes, despite there actually being quite a jump in the number of sales for detached homes. So, and condos and townhomes, the stats were not significantly changed week to week. In Barrhaven and Riverside South, we see a slight decrease in the number of active listings across property types, and we see that the sales this week were quite steady across property types. And in Orleans, we don't see much change in the number of active listings. The condo sales ticked up again this week. We're up to 9 sales this week, and the detached sales were down slightly. Okay, so next up we have the chart form for all the residential detached. I'm going to get into a little bit about the breakdown of the detached homes this week. So of the 104 homes, detached homes that sold this week, 3 of them were over $2 million. And then we had 35 homes that sold that were between 1 million and 2 million. And then there were 15 homes that sold that were in the 900s. So that makes 51% of the sales this week were over 900,000. And we actually, if you see later on in the update, we see that the average sale price for detached homes has been hovering around that 900,000 mark for the last 3-4 weeks. And so to have over 50% of them sell above that, that's quite significant. If we continue down through the different price breakdowns, we had 19 sales were in the 800s, 14 sales were in the 700s, 11 were in the 600s, and then 7 were below the 600 mark. Okay, so and then this is the stats for the townhome market across the city, and I will point out that Orleans ended up topping the 3 suburbs for the highest average sale price this week. And finally, we have the full condo stats in table form. Next up, we're going to look at the month-end stats as the preview to the board's official month-end stats, which will come out probably late this week. Okay, so these are the months of inventory charts for the various property types. Months of inventory is the number of months it would take to sell all current actively listed properties if no more properties were listed, and using the number of sales that you're seeing in that month. So thus it's affected by both the number of actively listed properties as well as the number of sales that you're seeing. Throughout July, as we've mentioned before, we've seen a moderate increase to the number of active listings. And we've also seen, while sales have been fairly steady, they have been at a lower rate than what we saw throughout the spring months. So this is why we're seeing the months of inventory climbing across the different property types. Okay, so these charts show us the close price to original list price ratio, and that sort of gives you an idea of a little bit on the pricing strategies that you're seeing sellers and realtors listing homes, and on also it gives you a bit of help with expectations for what you can expect to offer and negotiate on a sale. As we see this week or this month, sorry, we're at about 99% across property types. These are averages. Obviously, not every house there's houses that sell above, houses that sell below, but on average, we're at about 99%. And so these charts show us in chart form, the average days to sell for property type. Um, every week I'm always putting the average days to sell in those table forms and such, but it's nice to see how the trends are happening month to month. So this was a chart that I had added in just last month, I think it was. So the average home across property types is taking between 3 and 4 weeks to sell. But remember, averages are just that, they're averages. And every week I've been telling you about how many places are selling within that 7 day period. And we're seeing about 20 to 25% of homes selling within 1 week. And then, of course, you've got the other side of the averages. You've got the homes that are, months and months or, upwards of a year that are taking to sell. And so they all play into the average. But it's good to see whether or not the trends are going up or down or staying fairly steady despite the higher months of inventory or the higher or lower sales. Okay, so these are the month-to-month average sale prices. So we've got June and July there. And I've broken it down into detached, semi-detached, freehold townhome, as well as splitting out the row townhomes for condos and the apartment condos. So these numbers are all taken, this data is all from July 30th, so it will get adjusted slightly when we get the final last couple days of stats, but also a few things get adjusted and we get the official stats from the board. We see the modest increase in the detached market, well, fairly significant actually, about up 2% just over this month. And the semi-detached continues its sort of up and down volatility with the 6.8 decrease this month. The freehold townhomes were completely flat this week with zero change from June to July. And we see slight decreases in both townhomes and apartments for condos this month. And finally, we have the average sale price by property type in chart form and headed back all the way to 2018. We see the detached market that has continued to climb throughout 2023. And for the blue, that's the semi-detached market. Despite the up and down, kind of monthly up and downs, we're seeing that the trend is climbing slightly. That for the semi-detached. The townhome market has been fairly steady over the last 5 months. And then the condo markets, they're up some months and down some months, but not as drastically so as what we saw in all the freehold property types. Okay, so that's it for this week. And if you have any questions or if you have any stats or information that you'd like me to touch on in future updates, please drop me a line, get in touch. I'd love to help you out with understanding the Ottawa real estate market. And I hope you have a fantastic week.